Hey everybody, welcome back to the American English Daily, where you can learn to speak English with natural rhythm, real confidence, and fluency. Have you ever been in the middle of a conversation in English when suddenly your mind freezes? You know exactly what you want to say in your native language, but translating it into English feels like trying to solve a complicated math problem while everyone is staring at you. That moment when your brain is frantically searching for words, grammar, rules, and trying to make sure everything sounds natural, all while the other person is waiting for your response. Or maybe you've experienced that frustrating feeling when you're watching a movie in English without subtitles and you're translating every sentence in your head only to realize you've missed the next 3 lines of dialogue. By the time you catch up, you've lost track of the plot entirely. It's exhausting, isn't it? Like your brain is constantly running a marathon, jumping between 2 languages. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest challenges English learners face, that mental translation barrier that keeps you from truly flowing in your second language. I'm Michael. And I'm Sarah. And we're here to help you break free from that translation trap and start thinking directly in English. Because when you can do that, everything changes. Your fluency, your confidence, and even how you connect with others. Let's be honest, thinking in your target language is like finding that secret level in a video game. It's the moment when English stops being this foreign code you have to decipher and starts becoming a natural extension of your thoughts. But why is this such a game changer for language learners? Well, when you're constantly translating in your head, you're essentially doing double the mental work. First, you formulate your thoughts in your native language, then you translate them into English. It's like taking a detour every time you want to express yourself. This process is not only exhausting, but also slows down your communication and makes your English sound less natural. Exactly. And I think what many learners don't realize is that thinking in English isn't just about language proficiency. It's about creating a new mindset, another way of experiencing the world. When you think directly in English, you're not just speaking the language, you're living it. You start to understand humor, cultural references, and emotional subtleties that often get lost in translation. In today's episode, we'll explore practical strategies to help you stop that mental translation process and start thinking in English naturally. We'll look at the psychology behind language learning, share techniques that have worked for thousands of successful language learners, and give you actionable steps you can implement immediately. And the best part, the benefits go far beyond just improving your English. When you learn to think in another language, you're actually expanding your cognitive flexibility, boosting your creativity, and even enhancing your problem-solving skills. Studies have shown that people who can think in multiple languages often see challenges from different perspectives. By the end of this episode, you'll have a toolkit of practical techniques to help you break free from the translation trap. We'll also share some mindset shifts that can make this process more natural and enjoyable. So whether you're an intermediate learner who's been studying English for years or someone who's just starting to have conversations, there's something here for you. Before we dive into solutions, let's understand what's actually happening in your brain when you're stuck in translation mode. Your brain has created strong neural pathways that automatically route your thoughts through your native language first. It's like your brain has a default GPS setting that always takes you home before heading to any new destination. That's such a good analogy, Michael. And just like a GPS that's stuck taking longer routes, this mental habit can be redirected with practice. Our brains are incredibly adaptable. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. The more you practice thinking directly in English, the more you're creating new neural pathways that bypass the translation step. I often tell my students to imagine their brain as having different language rooms. When you're constantly translating, you're standing in your native language room and just how peeking into the English room through a small window. But what we want is for you to be able to walk confidently into that English room and close the door behind you, even if it's just for short periods at first. And here's something fascinating. Many multilingual report that they actually feel like slightly different people when thinking in different languages. Research has shown that our emotional responses can vary depending on which language we're using. For example, making decisions in your second language can sometimes lead to more rational, less emotionally biased choices. That's so true. I've experienced that myself. When I was learning Spanish, I noticed I became more expressive and animated, and I've had many students tell me they feel more confident or more thoughtful when thinking in English. It's like each language gives you access to a slightly different version of yourself. So, if you've been frustrated with your progress, remember that what you're trying to do, rewiring your brain's default language processing, is a significant cognitive achievement. Be patient with yourself, but also know that with the right approach, you can definitely make this shift. One of the most effective ways to start thinking in English is through immersion. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I don't live in an English-speaking country. The good news is that in our digital age, you can create an immersive English environment no matter where you are. Absolutely. Think about your daily routines and how you can infuse English into them. Do you check social media when you wake up? Switch those accounts to English speakers. Do you listen to music while commuting? Create an English playlist. Do you watch TV to unwind? Choose English shows without subtitles in your native language. The key here is consistency over intensity. 15 minutes of daily English immersion is far more effective than a 5-hour marathon once a week. Your brain needs regular exposure to start forming those direct English thinking pathways. I had a student from Japan who made an interesting commitment. She decided to make her bathroom an English-only zone. She put sticky notes with English vocabulary on her mirror, listened to English podcast while showering, and even practiced speaking English to herself while getting ready. She said, "This small daily ritual made a huge difference in how naturally English came to her after just a few months." That's brilliant. Creating these English islands in your day is so powerful. Another approach is to choose one daily activity and commit to thinking about it in English. For example, if you cook regularly, start thinking about the process in English. I'm chopping the onions now. I need to heat the oil. The water is boiling. And don't underestimate the power of talking to yourself in English. It might seem strange at first, but narrating your day in English is one of the best ways to practice thinking in the language. Describe what you're doing, what you see, or how you feel. I'm feeling tired today because I didn't sleep well. The coffee tastes bitter. I should leave in 10 minutes to catch the bus. Digital tools can be incredibly helpful. 2. Change the language settings on your phone, email, and social media accounts to English. Use English apps for everything from meditation to fitness tracking. Even your shopping lists can become English. Practice. The goal is to create an environment where English feels natural and necessary, not just something you study. When English becomes part of your everyday life, your brain starts to accept it as a primary way of processing information, not just a translation exercise. One mistake many learners make is trying to translate complex thoughts right away. If you're used to being articulate and nuanced in your native language, it can be frustrating to feel limited in English. But thinking in English doesn't mean you have to think in perfect, complex English from day one. Exactly. Start with simple thoughts and gradually build complexity. It's like learning to walk before you run. Begin with basic sentences. I'm hungry. I want pizza. The pizza is delicious. This might seem too elementary, especially if you can understand much more complex English when reading or listening, but it's an essential step in training your brain. I always tell my students to embrace what I call toddler English in their thoughts. Toddlers communicate with simple sentences, but can express all their basic needs and observations. They don't worry about using advanced vocabulary or complex grammar. They just communicate directly. That's such a liberating approach. Instead of thinking, I'm experiencing significant hunger and contemplating the consumption of pizza, which I anticipate will be delectable, you can simply think, hungry, want pizza, looks good. The simplicity allows your thoughts to flow directly in English without the translation step. As you get more comfortable with basic English thoughts, you can gradually increase complexity. One technique is to take a simple thought and expand it. I'm hungry becomes I'm hungry because I skipped breakfast becomes I'm really hungry because I was running late this morning and didn't have time for breakfast. And don't worry about thinking with an accent or making grammar mistakes in your thoughts. The goal is fluidity, not perfection. Even native speakers don't Think in perfectly structured sentences. Our thoughts are often fragments, images, and impressions. We only organize them into proper grammar when we communicate them. That's a crucial point. The inner voice of a native English speaker isn't a perfectly edited essay. It's messy, abbreviated, and jumps around. So, give yourself permission to think in imperfect English. The goal is to create that direct line between your thoughts and English, even if the English is simple or imperfect at first. One of the most powerful ways to start thinking in English is to form emotional connections to the language. When words and phrases are linked to feelings, memories, or personal experiences, they bypass the translation center of your brain and connect directly to your thought processes. This is so important. Think about words in your native language that have strong emotional associations. Maybe the way your mother used to comfort you when you were sad, or the feeling of a specific word that makes you laugh or feel nostalgic. These words don't need translation. They trigger emotions directly. You can build these same emotional bridges in English instead of learning vocabulary through translation lists. Try to associate new words with sensory experiences, images, or emotions. For example, don't just memorize that petrare means the smell after rain. Actually think about that specific smell. Visualize a rainy day and connect the English word directly to that sensory memory. I found that music is incredibly powerful for this. Song lyrics in English can become deeply embedded in your emotional memory, especially if they're connected to significant moments in your life. That's why many people find that they can think or sing in English when recalling songs, even if they normally translate everything else. Movies and TV shows work the same way. When you laugh at a joke in English or feel moved by a character's speech, you're creating direct emotional connections to the language. Try to watch scenes that make you feel something: excitement, sadness, laughter, and let the English dialogue become associated with those emotions. Personal experiences in English are gold. For this process, even small interactions, ordering coffee, having a brief chat with a tourist, or participating in an online discussion, create memories where English is directly connected to real life experiences rather than translations. And here's a technique that combines emotional connection with practice. Choose an emotion each day and build your English thoughts around it. If today's emotion is frustration, think about things that frustrate you, but do it directly in English. This traffic is making me crazy. I hate being late. Why didn't I leave earlier? Journaling in English about your feelings can also strengthen these emotional connections. Don't worry about perfect grammar or sophisticated vocabulary. Just express your genuine thoughts and feelings over time, and you'll find that emotional expression in English starts to feel natural rather than translated. Visualization is a powerful tool for thinking directly in English. When you see an object, try to visualize the English word rather than the word in your native language. For example, when You see a dog, try to visualize the word dog or even just hear it in your mind. Instead of automatically thinking of the word in your language, this technique actually has strong scientific backing. Our brains process images about 60.000 times faster than text. So, creating visual associations with English words can help you bypass the translation step. Many polyglots and language experts use visualization techniques to build direct connections between concepts and their target language. One effective exercise is to spend 5 minutes a day practicing this visual English connection. Look around your current environment and name everything you see directly in English. Don't allow yourself to think of the words in your native language first. Just connect the object and the English word directly. Another powerful technique is to create mind maps in English. Start with a central concept, like happiness, and branch out with related words, phrases, and ideas all in English. This helps your brain create semantic networks directly in English, rather than translating concepts from your native language. I've had students who benefited from what I call the sticky note immersion technique. They would put sticky notes on objects around their home with the English words written on them. After a few weeks, they found they were thinking of these objects directly in English because of the constant visual association. Association techniques can be playful. 2. Try creating English word chains, where each new word associates with the previous one. Coffee, morning, sunshine, warm, summer, beach. This trains your brain to flow naturally from one English concept to another, without reverting to your native language. And don't forget about the power of imagery in learning idiomatic expressions. Instead of trying to understand idioms through literal translation, visualize them. If you hear, "It's raining cats and dogs," picture that absurd image. These mental pictures help you understand and remember expressions directly in English. One visualization exercise I love recommending is the English persona technique. Visualize yourself as a confident English speaker. How would you stand, gesture, or express yourself? Some learners even create a slightly different personality for themselves in English, which helps them step out of their translation mindset and into direct English thinking. Now, let's talk about specific exercises that can help you actively practice thinking in English. These are activities you can do anywhere, anytime, to strengthen those direct English thinking pathways in your brain. One of my favorites is the 30-second challenge. Choose an everyday object or simple concept and challenge yourself to think about it exclusively in English for 30 seconds. Describe its appearance, purpose, your feelings about it, anything related to that object, but only in English. If your mind slips back to your native language, gently redirect it to English. That's a great one. Another powerful exercise is thought translation. Notice when you're thinking in your native language, pause and then immediately express that same thought in English. Over time, you'll get faster at this until eventually you might find yourself thinking directly in English. For certain topics, Decision M is another excellent opportunity to practice thinking in English next time you're trying to decide what to eat, which movie to watch, or how to solve a problem at work. Try walking through the decision process in English. I could have pasta, but I had that yesterday. Maybe a salad would be better. I have ingredients for a Caesar salad. I found that problem solving in English can be particularly effective when faced with a challenge. Try to work through possible solutions in English. This not only develops your thinking skills, but also build specialized vocabulary around topics that matter to you. Physical activities can also become English thinking practice. While running, swimming, or walking, try counting your steps or laps in English, or narrate your exercise routine to yourself. I'm picking up the pace now. My heart rate is increasing. I'll slow down a bit. Another technique is what I call English thinking triggers. Identify specific situations that will remind you to switch to thinking in English. For example, every time you climb stairs, wait for a bus, or brush your teeth, use that as a cue to think in English for the duration of that activity. And don't underestimate the power of asking yourself questions in English. Throughout your day, pose simple questions to yourself and answer them in English. What am I feeling right now? What should I do next? What do I think about this situation? This creates an internal dialogue in English that feels natural and conversational. For more advanced learners, try explaining complex concepts to yourself in English. Choose a topic you know well, perhaps something related to your job, studies, or a hobby, and explain it as if you were teaching someone else. This builds your capacity to think about sophisticated topics directly in English. Now, let's take a few minutes to explore some useful vocabulary from today's episode. These are words and expressions that can help you discuss language learning and thinking processes in English. First, we have neural pathways. These are the connections between neurons in your brain that allow signals to be transmitted. Example, creating new neural pathways requires consistent practice and repetition. Next is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. Example, thanks to neuroplasticity, it's never too late to learn a new language or skill. We also mentioned immersion, the practice of surrounding yourself completely with a language to learn it more effectively. Example, language immersion helped her progress much faster than traditional classroom learning. 2. Bypass means to go around or avoid something. Example, the goal is to bypass the translation process and connect directly with English. Articulate as an adjective describes someone who can express their thoughts clearly and effectively. Example, she's incredibly articulate in her native language, but still struggles to express complex ideas in English. Nuanced refers to showing awareness of subtle differences in meaning or feeling. Example: as his English improved, his understanding of humor became more nuanced. To infuse means to fill or permeate something with a particular quality or substance. Example: she infused her daily routine with English content to improve her listening skills. Consistency over intensity is a phrase suggesting that regular moderate practice is more effective than occasional intense effort. Example: language learning requires consistency over intensity. 15 minutes daily beats a 5-hour session once a week. To narrate means to provide a spoken commentary on events or actions. Example: narrating your daily activities in English helps build fluency in everyday vocabulary. Messy in this context means disorganized or chaotic. Example: don't worry about your thoughts being messy when you think in English. Native speakers' thoughts aren't perfectly structured either. To trigger means to cause something to happen or exist. Example: certain English words trigger emotional responses based on personal experiences. Semantic networks are interconnected systems of words, concepts, and their relationships in the mind. Example: building semantic networks directly in English helps you think more naturally in the language. 2. Revert means to return to a previous state or condition. Example: when tired, language learners often revert to thinking in their native language. Cue as a noun refers to a signal for action. Example: use everyday activities as cues to switch your thinking to English. Finally, our internal dialogue refers to the ongoing conversation we have with ourselves and our minds. Example: developing an English internal dialogue is a key step toward fluency. As we wrap up today's episode, I want you to remember that the journey from translating to thinking in English is not about perfection. It's about connection. It's about creating a direct link between your thoughts and this new language. That's becoming part of who you are. Exactly. And this process isn't just about language efficiency. It's about experiencing the world through a different lens. Research has shown that the languages we speak actually shape how we perceive reality in subtle ways. When you begin thinking in English, you're not just speaking another language, you're gaining access to another way of seeing the world. I love how the writer Frank Smith put it. One language sets you in a corridor for life. 2 languages open every door along the way. By developing the ability to think directly in English, you're not just opening doors to more effective communication, you're opening doors to new perspectives, new relationships, and new parts of yourself. So, as you practice the techniques we've shared today, be patient with yourself. Celebrate the small victories, those moments when you catch yourself thinking naturally in English, when you dream in English, or when you find the perfect English expression for something that doesn't quite translate from your native language. Remember that this journey is uniquely yours. Some days you'll feel like you're making incredible progress, and other days you might find yourself back in translation mode. That's completely normal. The brain creates new habits gradually, but with consistency and the right approach, thinking in English will become more and more natural. If you've enjoyed today's episode and found these strategies helpful, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment sharing which technique you're going to try first, or tell us about a moment when you caught yourself thinking directly in English. And if you know someone who's learning English and struggling with that mental translation barrier, please share this episode with them. Sometimes the right strategy can make all the difference in someone's language learning journey. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more episodes on language learning, communication skills, and personal growth. We release new content every 1 or 2 days, and we have some exciting topics coming up that you won't want to miss. Until next time, keep practicing, be patient with yourself, and remember, every time you choose to think directly in English, you're rewiring your brain and building a skill that will stay with you for life. This is Michael and Sarah signing off. See you in our next episode. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Confident Speaking Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to Master English Fluency.